Sometimes you have a character that we hate, a bad person, but he's played by Bradley Cooper or played by Brad Pitt or played by Robert Downey Jr. And people just sort of forgive that character for his flaws as long as he's somehow, we enjoy watching him on screen. I think in Leaving Las Vegas, Nicolas Cage is determined to die in Las Vegas. He's going to go and drink and do drugs and do anything he wants and die. And it's sad because he's suicidal, so we can empathize with him because he's suicidal. And sometimes we're just waiting for the train to crash, so we keep on watching, waiting for the train to crash. I would say it is actually a recent trend where you have Tony Soprano as a bad guy, Walter White is a bad guy, Frank Underwood is a bad guy, Dexter is a bad guy. But what makes Dexter empathetic? I think is that he was born that way as a child, so the TV series tries to say that it wasn't his fault, he doesn't mean to be a serial killer, and he has a code, and he's only applying his instinct on bad people. So that little positioning there makes him worth rooting for. Tony Soprano is a mafia gangster, and in the mafia world they call their buddies the family, but at the same time he has a family, he has a wife, and he has kids. So it's this one guy caught between two worlds, trying to do right by his wife and kids and trying to do right by his gangster family. And in the pilot, in the very first episode, he has to see a psychologist. He doesn't want to see a psychologist. He wants to be a tough guy, but she encourages him to talk about something painful. And what he talks about is that a family of ducks were in his swimming pool and they flew away, and it made him sad because maybe his family's going to leave him someday. And you've got this tough guy in this sweet little moment, and sort of the contrast between this tough guy shedding a tear over a baby duckling makes him empathetic. And as the show continues, he becomes less and less empathetic, I think, which is also true of Breaking Bad. In the beginning of House of Cards, he's got this hope to become, what is it, Secretary of Defense or Vice President?
Oh, Secretary.
And he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you promised me. And so in that moment, in that episode, we feel like, hey, there was some shady business going on here. So we kind of get behind him in that moment. And he's Kevin Spacey. Who doesn't like Kevin Spacey? And he talks straight to the camera in a very intimate way that invites us under his skin. He very much is the viewpoint character of that show. And then just over time, he becomes less and less likable. Tim, read a couple more things just on empathy here. What makes us?
What makes us curious about him? What is his mystery? What is his magic? How does it show on screen? What flaws does the character exhibit? Does the audience empathize with his flaws, disapprove of his flaws, want to see him punished, want to emulate him?
So think about that in terms of House of Cards. What flaws does the character exhibit? Are we supposed to empathize with him? Do we disapprove of his flaws? That's fine. Maybe you disapprove of a character's flaws and you want to see him punished. You want to see him get some comeuppance. So maybe he's a character that people should emulate. So there's all different types of protagonists that we can create. All right, so these are questions you can ask yourself. What is the worst thing that can happen to him, but not death? Hopefully a fate worse than death. Conversely, what is the most bright, auspicious, redemptive moment the character can face? Why can't he live at peace with his conscience or respect himself if he can't achieve his aims? This doesn't apply to all stories, but some stories it does. So as you read these questions, you just get ideas for your stories that do or don't apply. Who are the people your main character can always rely on the other hand, who might betray him at precisely the wrong moment? The bad guys, what are the bad guys' plans? What are their hopes and dreams? Do we ever fall into the shoes of the antagonist? How does the antagonist rationalize their actions? I love it, like in the Lego movie. When Will Ferrell gives his motivation for wanting to use crazy glue on Legos. I just watched it recently, so I'm biased by it. For the first time I watched it. And it's funny, it's a very cute motivation. Will Ferrell is the bad guy. And he says, I don't want people messing with my stuff. That's it. That's the antagonist motivation. I've written so many films where the main guy is flawed and unlikable, but he becomes likable by the end. And so many people have read them and they say, character's unlikable, I didn't finish. So they stop after page 30. I'm like, no, but that's the point. They're like, nah, I don't like it, don't want to do it. Okay. So maybe I'm writing the wrong genre.